I'm Idris Olubisi, developer educator at Midnight Foundation. Back in the Night and Dust video, I told you one of the best parts of Midnight's resource model, developers can hold nights, generate dust, and cover transaction fees for their users. It's a total gasless experience. That was the promise, and this is the implementation. By the end of this video, you understand fee sponsorship on Midnight, the contract pattern, the transaction flow, and the ordering detail that makes the whole thing secure. Think about your users first for a few minutes. They install a wallet, they open your dApp, they click a button, and nothing works. Because on Midnight, transaction costs dust, and dust comes from holding registered nights over time. A brand new user has neither. Every dApp faces the same onboarding wall. Before your user can do anything, they need nights, and they need to register it for dust generation, then wait. Of course, the wait is not long for a single fee, but the wall isn't the wait. It is the whole idea behind go and acquire token first. That's where you lose them. Sponsorship removes this wall completely. Your service pays for the fee, the user just uses the app on day one. But the naive version of this is dangerous. If the sponsor is signing and paying, what stops anyone from draining the sponsor? The answer is a clean separation, and it is the core idea of this whole video. Sponsorship on Midnight separates two things most chains blur together: who pays and who authorizes. The contract authorizes a caller by proving knowledge of a secret. Then the user knows the secret, the sponsor doesn't. So the user proves and runs the action, while the sponsor pays the fee, and that is all the sponsor can do, because without the secret, the contract assertion fails before any fee is even involved. But here is the trap to call out. You might think, just check ownPublicKey in the contract. Don't. The security practices are explicit. It is a prover-controlled witness, and it must be trusted as an authenticated caller. Anyone proving the transaction controls what it returns. Let's look at a contract, for example. 2 ledger fields, 1 witness, 3 secrets. Authority is the registered public identity. Action is a counter, which is our observable proof the call actually ran. And then the secret key is a witness, the caller's secret, supplied off-chain by the prover's wallet. Everything private state, never on-chain. The public ID derives a public identity from the secret, which is a persistent hash with domain separation. It is exported and pure, so you can compute the expected authority off-chain too. You will see why that matters in the verify step later in this video. So register runs once. It records the public identity as authority. Act is the protected action, which proves you know the secret behind the authority, or the assert kills the transaction immediately. Notice the witness is only ever used behind the assert, which binds it to the public authority. That's discipline. A wrong secret can't authorize anything. The sponsor will pay for both of these calls, and once you are registered, the sponsor can't pass act function. It does not have your secret. One caveat on register function though, the only guard here is the not registered yet, so which means that first caller wins. In a redeployment, you would get it in a way that you can see the authority in the constructor or make registration permissioned. For the demo, first come is the point. So we register as the user and then verify on-chain that the authority really is the user identity and not the sponsor. Now to the interesting part, the transaction flow. TypeScript, we have 2 parties. The order of operation is the security model here. For the user side, the user builds the call with create unproving call tx function, then proves it with prove provider.prove tx function, right? So the user is always the prover, and then the secret never leaves their machine. But the key move here is that the user balances their own side of the transaction, which is shielded and unshielded only. Take a look at the actual call. We have the recipe, which awaits the user's wallet balance. If you take a look at tokenKindsToBalance, we see the shielded or unshielded, not dust. The user has none anyways. Then the user signs and finalizes. Finalizing the transaction means it binds the transaction, sealed, serialized to hexadecimal, and then handed to the sponsor over a plain HTTP posts. On the sponsor side, the sponsor could just be a small express service with one job. It deserializes the finalized transaction and balances exact one thing, and that's the token kinds to balance. If you take a look at it, you see we have dust, only the fee, then sign, finalize, and submit, and that is done. Here is why the order is everything. The user balances, signs, and binds first. What the sponsor receives is a finalized transaction. It can only add a dust fee offer on top of it. It cannot alter the content, can't change the call, can't touch the user's proof or the private state. This is the exact ordering. So follow it and the story is very clean. The user trusts the sponsor with nothing but a fee. But then, how do you run this end to end? If you have your environment already set up, 3 things needs to be in place before any other thing happens. First, a sponsor wallet, which is funded with NITE and registered for DOS. That registration is what makes it generate fees over time. Secondly, your contract is deployed. You can utilize the one we just walked through as an example. Then finally, a sponsor service, which can either be a small HTTP service in our example, which is one endpoint, and the only job is to add fees. That's the sponsor side ready. Now, your user wallet, and this is the entire point of this implementation. Your user wallet starts at $0. It stays at $0. You never fund it. So the sequence would be when the user calls the contract, but let's put it into different steps so you can understand. Step 1, the user proves the call. They are the prover, so the secret never leaves their side. Step 2, they balance their own tokens only, shielded and unshielded, never dust. Step 3, they sign and finalize. That's exactly the bind, so the transaction is sealed. And then step 4, they hand it over to the sponsor. And this is where we then have the one single post request. Then step 5, the sponsor balances dust only, signs its fee addition, and submits it. As you can see, that's one sponsored transaction on chain. You can run it twice, or in fact, run it twice, once for the register function and once for the act function, and your $0 user has registered as the authority and performed a protected action, which results to paying for neither of these actions. But in that case, how do you know it actually worked? You have 3 checks. Remember the public ID being exported and pure. This is exactly why. You compute the user's expected identity off-chain and compare it to the authority on-chain. So the first check is to check if they match, and then the authority is the user's identity, not the sponsor. The second check is the action counter reads 1 and the call ran. And then the final check would be the user's dust balance is still 0. So that way you can be confident that this operation is gasless and provably the user's action. A design like this is only as good as what it refuses to do. So before you trust it, try to break it in both directions. So the first attempt will be make the user pay for themselves. They hold 0 dust, so balancing the fee from their own wallet would fail immediately because obviously they genuinely cannot pay. And then the second attempt is to make the sponsor perform the action. In this case, the sponsor has all the dust in the world, but proving act with a secret that does not match the authority, the assert immediately kills it before proving even starts, before fees are even in the picture. To simplify what we just discussed, payer can't act and then actor can't pay. So this separation holds in both directions. Now, let's quickly talk about where this pattern goes in the real world. Let's say, for example, onboarding. Onboarding is the first one. Your users' first transactions are free, so they don't need to acquire any token first before they can interact with your dApp. The other one is free tiers and trials. So the dApp covers usage up to a limit, exactly like any other Web2 application that you might have interacted with. And finally, enterprise. The organization holds NITE and generates the DOS. So employees or customers, they can transact on the dApp without ever thinking about the fees. So one wallet with NITE one small sponsor service, one contract pattern. That's exactly the whole stack. Well, that's free sponsorship on Midnight. The contract authorizes with a secret. The user proves and binds the transaction first, and then the sponsor can only add the fee. Who pays and who authorizes? Finally, we have two different questions. There is a full working example linked in the description. Everything you saw today, everything we talked about, ready to run. Clone it, try it, then swap in your own contract. The sponsorship flow does not change. If you have any question, drop them below and tell me what you would make Gasless first. I'm happy to see what you guys build. See you next time.